The dining hall was a cavern of shadows and echoes, and at its head, there was a throne. Seated there was a woman who was more monarch than a mere leader. Her name was Serafina, but no one dared to speak it unless invited. To them, she was simply the Empress. Her presence filled the room, a tangible force that commanded respect and bred a healthy, necessary fear. She wore a gown of deep emerald silk, the fabric flowing around her like liquid night, a stark and beautiful contrast against her dark skin. Diamonds glittered at her ears and throat, not as simple decorations but as armor. Each jewel was a reminder of a deal closed, an enemy vanquished, a territory conquered. She did not slouch, she did not fidget, she simply was. Her posture was a lesson in power. She sat perfectly erect, her shoulders back, her chin held high, her gaze sweeping over the empty seats before her, as if she could already see the men who would soon occupy them. The chair itself was a masterpiece of Gothic design, its back rising in sharp, dramatic points like a crown. Her hands rested lightly on the armrests, her long fingers still, but her mind was a whirlwind of calculations, strategies, and consequences. Every detail of this room, from the velvet curtains to the silver goblets, was of her choosing. Every element was designed to intimidate, to impress, to remind all who entered that they were in her world now. The air itself seemed to hum with anticipation, waiting for her command. The silence in the great hall was not empty. It was heavy, filled with the weight of her authority and the unspoken history of how she came to sit on that throne. She had not inherited this kingdom. She had built it, brick by bloody brick, deal by dangerous deal. Her reign was absolute because it had been earned through cunning, ruthlessness, and an unyielding will that had broken men far stronger than the ones who served her now. I'm sure you've heard the news. The reign of Serafina, the queenpin, has come to an end. But before the final curtain fell, her most loyal lieutenants gathered one last time, their footsteps muffled by the thick Persian rugs. There were 4 of them, the pillars of her organization. First came Marcus, the strategist, his mind a labyrinth of plans and backup plans. He was older, with streaks of gray in his beard, his eyes holding the wisdom of 1,000 dangerous knights. He moved with a quiet confidence, his respect for Serafina evident in the slight bow of his head as he took his seat. He was the voice of reason, the steady hand that balanced her fire. His loyalty was not born of fear, but of a deep, profound admiration for her intellect and her vision. He had seen empires rise and fall, and he knew a true ruler when he saw one. Next was Leo, the enforcer. He was a mountain of a man, his custom-tailored suit struggling to contain his powerful physique. Tattoos snaked up his neck, telling stories of a life lived on the edge. Where Marcus was the mind, Leo was the fist. His loyalty was simpler, more direct. She pointed, and he removed the obstacle. He did not ask questions. He did not need to. He trusted her judgment implicitly, his faith in her as solid and unyielding as his own formidable presence. As he sat, the heavy oak chair groaned under his weight, a stark contrast to the silence that had preceded his entry. He was a weapon, and she was the only one who knew how to wield him. Then came Javier, the face of the operation. He was impossibly handsome, with a charm that could disarm diplomats and deceive detectives. He handled the public-facing aspects of their business, the clean investments, the political connections. He was the silver-tongued serpent in her garden, his words as potent as any poison. His loyalty was tied to ambition. He knew that by her side, he could achieve a level of influence he could never reach alone. He saw her not just as a boss, but as a mentor in the art of power, a queen whose moves he studied with a mix of awe and aspiration. He smiled as he sat, a flash of white teeth in the dim light. Finally, there was Dante, the ghost. He was the youngest, a prodigy of the digital age who could move through networks and firewalls as if they were not there. He was slight of build, dressed in dark, unassuming clothes, and he moved with a lithe quietness that made him easy to overlook. That was his greatest strength. He was the eyes and ears, the master of information. His loyalty was forged in gratitude. Serafina had seen his potential when no one else had, plucking him from obscurity and giving him a purpose. He owed her everything, and this debt fueled a fierce, unwavering devotion. He took his seat without a sound, his gaze fixed on her. But as the echoes of their loyalty linger in the marble halls, a new chapter is already being written. Serafina's legend is far from over. The world believes the queenpin has vanished, But in the shadows, her influence only grows stronger. Her loyal lieutenants remain at her side, ready for what comes next. Empires may fall, but true queens rise again, more powerful, more cunning, and more determined than ever. The story of Seraphina is just beginning.